Chapter 196, Making Someone Taste His Own Medicine. Long Hanwen got up and greeted him with a smile. It's all right. Nephew Ouyang and I have almost finished talking. Besides, old brother Zhang and I haven't drank together for a long time, have we? So, how about we have dinner together? No problem. But I'll play the host. Anyhow, this should be the business genius from Jingmen Island's Ouyang family, yes? Truly, heroes have always sprouted from the young, and seeing you in person is much better than hearing from rumors. Zhang Fengxian said.
Ah.
You're overpraising me. Ouyang Lei replied with a smile. Then, he immediately turned to Long Hanwen and said, Uncle Long, this is? He's also one of the great figures in Star City. You have heard about the Star City's Jiang group, haven't you? He's the boss, Zhang Fengxian. Long Hanwen replied. Well, I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time now. Ouyang Lei casually nodded and said with a smile. After some courtesies, everyone then sat on the sofa. Zhang Fengxian clearly saw that there was the original drawing of architectural complex design on the coffee table. However, Long Zhengyu hastily rolled up the design paper and put it into the box. He then said with a smile, Brother Long, I'll be frank with you. The reason I came to see you this time is to buy this design blueprint. You say the price. Long Hanwen's expression changed. The smile on his face faded as though receding tides. With a bit of hazed expression, he forced out an insincere smile and said, To think you know I have this blueprint design, Brother Zhang, truly the means. It seems there's a traitor close to me. But since I have carried out the legal filing for this design, I'm the owner of this blueprint. I won't sell it. Brother Long, you misunderstood me. Someone has taken this architectural design of yours with a mobile phone and leaked it on the internet. There should be a lot of people know that about it now. And I myself came to know about it by chance, said Zhang Fengxian. Long Hanwen's complexion changed again as he shouted with a sinking tone, Zhengyu. How could this happen? I don't know. I'm the one who kept this blueprint. And I can guarantee that nobody has seen it aside from you and Brother Ouyang. Shaking his head, Long Zhengyu replied. If this didn't leak out from you, then from who? Could it be, with a sinking tone Long Hanwen asked. It shouldn't be. The expert who drew this design has a good and reliable reputation. He spent 6 months to help us design this architectural complex blueprint. Replied Long Zhengyu with a forced smile. Brother Long, nobody is accountable, and nowadays, accountability is literally useless. Since you're the owner of this design, nobody can take it away from your hands even if it's been spread out throughout the world. Since you don't want to sell it, could it be that you want to start the project yourself? Furthermore, I've heard that you also have called several banks' presidents and even met the top leaders from the government? Zhang Fengxian laughed and said. Long Hanwen snorted and said, it seems that the world truly has no wall without cracks. I've done everything as carefully as I can, but I didn't expect that ambitious people still sniffed this out. Brother Long, you need not hold any hostility toward me. In all due honesty, the reason I came to see you is to offer a win-win solution. I already saw this architectural design blueprint. And the amount of work is quite huge since it includes a commercial district as well as a residential area. Not to mention that some buildings with a few 100-meter high height are also quite big projects in itself. What I'm saying is, we should cooperate. Zhang Fengxian said with a smile. So, you want your share of the cake too, huh? Long Hanwen frowned and replied. Brother Long, a project as huge as this one is not something that can be swallowed solely by your Long family. I believe that this project will run smoothly if we cooperate. You two know that we both are the main leaders of the real estate business in Star City. It will bring about great benefits for the both of us once we cooperate. Zhang Fengxian categorically said. what you say is true. I also know that my Long family doesn't have the means to monopolize this big cake. But, Jingmen Island's Ouyang family also wants to cooperate with me. I know it will take more time if we begin the project and build per clusters and phases, but still, the profits are also quite considerable. So, Long Hanwen replied with a dry smile. Zhang Fengxian waved his hand to interrupt Long Hanwen's speech as he said with a sinking tone, "Brother Long, time is money. The earlier the project is completed, the faster the investment will return. I don't have any problem with the Ouyang family cooperating in this, since we can still sign a tripartite agreement to co-fund the project. Fortunately, my Zhang group has sold several estates recently and we have received our investment also. So it won't be a problem for us to provide dozens of billion in liquid funds." Long Hanwen knitted his brows and looked at Ouyang Lei. The latter pondered for a moment before he slowly said, "Our Ouyang family also has no problem with it, provided that the Zhang group has enough funds. However, I have a request. We must start this project within a short time. In addition, with the co-funding of the three of us, I want the leadership of the venture to be taken by the one who contributes the most." This, Long Hanwen and Zhang Fengxian looked at each other with hesitation. "My family will invest 5 billion and I also have brought the money, I can invest it at any time into the project. The two of you are the local businessmen in Star City, so I need to take precautions in this cooperation. That's why I suggested our three parties to deposit the funds and sign an agreement that anyone cannot withdraw the fund, if the projects have yet to complete. I myself don't hope such a situation to occur, for it will affect the entire implementation of the plan." Ouyang Lei slowly explained. "Then, your meaning is that our three parties will provide staff to form a management team? I see. This approach itself does sound reasonable, but a team without a leader will inevitably affect the project in itself," Long Hanwen said with a surprised expression. Zhang Fengxian himself also understood the reasoning behind this approach. He nodded and said, "Nephew Ouyang hasn't had engaged with real estate business, yes? A management team consisted of three parties would have quite a troublesome situation, particularly when the project has been started and encounters some problem, whereas each and every party would propose their ideas and nobody is agreeing with anyone. So I suggest that we should elect a CEO who is solely responsible for the project." Ouyang Lei thought for a long while as he then said slowly, "If you want to appoint a CEO, I should be the one to find the person. You can rest assured, I won't use someone from my Ouyang family, I will hire a reputable and highly renowned manager for this. If you agree to my request then we'll shake hands, but if you don't, Ouyang family will recede from the cooperation." Long Hanwen glanced at Zhang Fengxian as he replied with sinking tone, "I can agree to this condition, but on the premise that I also have the rights to voice my opinion on the candidates. If I think the professional manager you hire is not qualified, then your candidate will be overruled." "I agree to this condition," Zhang Fengxian quickly said. "I believe you heard of this friend of mine, Kong Xia. As early as tomorrow morning, I'll go to the capital to invite her. What do you think?" Ouyang Lei said slowly. Kong Xia? A strange expression passed on Long Hanwen and Zhang Fengxian's face, while there was also a trace of pity in their eyes. Zhang Deqin, who was at the side, felt somewhat familiar with the name, but she couldn't remember where she heard it. After trying to recall for a moment, she asked with a low voice, "Dad, who's this Kong Xia, is she very famous?" Famous? This name shook the business world. "You haven't assumed the authority position in the family, so you don't know much about the topmost gold medal managers in the world. However, it's a pity though," Zhang Fengxian said with a sigh. "Why is it a pity?" Zhang Deqin asked with a confused expression. "It's a pity that Kong Xia no longer wants to become a CEO for other corporations, for she herself has established her own company. She even chose our Star City as the base. You have heard about the magnificent Tang Corporation, haven't you? This corporation has just been established in Star City recently, and Kong Xia is exactly this company's CEO. Zhang Fengxian forced out a smile as he replied. Zhang Deqin suddenly realized as to why she felt that the Kong Xia name was quite familiar when she heard it. The said person was a CEO of a newly formed corporation. She also remembered that the recent financial and economic magazines often reported her interview. Being surprised after hearing the talk between the father and daughter, Ouyang Lei asked, "Did you say that Kong Xia is in Star City and has established her own company?" "Yes. It's called Magnificent Tang Corporation." Zhang Fengxian nodded and said. Ouyang Lei took out his mobile and dialed a number. After the call was connected, he quickly spoke, "Kong Xia, it's Ouyang Lei here. Is it true that you've established your own company? I just heard about it." "Ah. Old friend, aren't you kinda late on the news? I did have set up a company, but I've just built its framework for now and it will take quite a long time to have it on the right track. Anyways, is there something you want?" Kong Xia's laughter and voice came out of the phone. "Damn. I caught the news way too late. Anyways, where are you now? Are you in the capital or in Star City?" Ouyang Lei forced out a smile and said. "Star City. Hey, I'm also in Star City, you got time for us to meet?" "You're also in Star City?" "Of course. We're old friends. It's been almost a year since we met, right? Where are you now?" "I'll catch up with you now. Long's dining hall." "Ah. The world's really small. You're here too, huh? Tell me your box's number, I'll be there shortly." "All right." Ouyang Lei hung up the phone. With an expression as though he was talking to himself, he forced out a smile and said, "To think that she actually established her own company, this is truly unexpected. I met her in the United States around 7 or 8 years ago, helping her settle some little problems back then. She told me she would return the favor in the future. To be honest, I want to use this favor and make her the CEO for this project. But it seems there's no hope." Long Hanwen's expression moved as he said, "In fact, I think it's not that bad since Kong Xia is still willing to see you. As far as I know, Magnificent Tang Corporation's framework and structure have been completed. Apparently, they will take the cosmetic business, but their progress in setting up the manufacturing line isn't doing well. So it's still unknown when they'll be able to begin producing the products. On the other hand, since we have undertaken the early stage of the project, we might still be able to pull her to supervise this project. Besides, she herself resides in Star City and it will be very convenient. I wonder whether she would agree to work with us. I have heard some news about her character." Zhang Fengxian forced out a smile as he replied. Chapter 197, Exorbitant Demands. Whilst pointing at Ouyang Lei and trying to suppress his excitement, Long Hanwen said, "Didn't you hear clearly that Kong Xia owes him a favor? Do you think she'll refuse if he wants her to repay it? Lest that Magnificent Tang Corporation's business could be said as only a minor one, the capital being invested in it also not worth mentioning. So, if we can pull her company in this, I believe Kong Xia will also be willing to be the CEO. Kong Xia is someone who lives up to her words and I'm sure that she will definitely comply if I ask, albeit perhaps we will have to pay quite the price." Ouyang Lei said confidently. "Price? With all due respect, I truly want to know how much she'd demand. We all know who she is and how much money we can get by relying on her if she becomes the CEO," patting the table. Long Hanwen loudly spoke. At the moment, Zhang Fengxian was also excited. He knew that a lot of domestic major corporations had tried to hire Kong Xia, only to receive her refusal. And now, the fact that she owed Ouyang Lei a favor, and in the case that he was really able to invite her, it meant that they only needed to open the mouth, whereas the money would come to them by itself. Whatever demands she has, we'll comply. Zhang Fengxian said with a firm tone. A few minutes later, the doorbell of the presidential suite sounded. Long Zhengyu opened the door as he quickly and politely welcomed Kong Xia inside. Oh, it's very lively here. I'm not disturbing everyone with my visit, am I? Looking around everyone inside the room, Kong Xia asked Ouyang Lei with a beaming smile. Whilst smiling, Ouyang Lei also got up as he gently hugged her. After loosening his hug, he said, No. We were just talking about you. Anyhow, you didn't tell me you set up your own business even though we're old friends. It's kinda unbecoming of you to look down on me, no? How so? You're in Jingmen Island, not Star City. It's not like I ought to wait for you to come from Jingmen Island, right? Anyways, why are you in Star City today? Any important business here? Kong Xia said with a smile. The old gentleman of my family said to open new businesses for the Ouyangs. He also promised me that, if the next investment project I manage bring about a lot of profits, then the position of the family head will be mine. What do you think? I'm pretty good, aren't I? Ouyang Lei replied with a smile. Ugh. Even with strangers around, you still fart with that smug smelly look, eh? Kong Xia chided. Ignoring the remark, Ouyang Lei waved and said, It's all right, they're not strangers. Old friend, when we were in the US before, you said you owed me a favor. Isn't it about time you settle the account? Kong Xia was distracted for a moment. Her expression immediately turned serious as she nodded and said, Each drop of graciousness shall and ought to be paid. If it weren't for you, I would have already died in that car accident. So tell me, what do you want me to do? I want you. Ouyang Lei replied with a chuckle. Kong Xia's face turned red as she chided, Go to hell. Don't talk such a rubbish. Pretending to look serious, Ouyang Lei said, Well, I do really want you. Uncle Long, Uncle Zhang and I have been preparing a joint venture for a construction project, and I want you to become our manager. Kong Xia's brows wrinkled. She pondered for a while before she forced out a smile and said, Old friend, if you told me about this a few months back, I may have agreed with you without hesitation. But now, Chief Kong, as far as I know, your magnificent Tang Corporation is doing cosmetics business, yes? But you've yet to buy your own factory, much less having your products hit the market. I think you aren't that busy right now. Furthermore, if you want your company to join in the project, the four of us can cooperate as well. We've been preparing to invest quite a lot of funds in this project and I can assure you that the profits are extremely high. Do you have any interest? Long Hanwen said quickly. Not interested. Kong Xia replied and shook her head. Long Hanwen forced out a smile as he raised his hand and touched his bridge nose. However, he winked at Zhang Fengxian the moment Kong Xia didn't pay attention to him. Zhang Fengxian nodded whilst keeping his composure as he said with a smile, Chief Kong, capable persons can do and handle more jobs. We're all business people and we always pursue high the profits, the more the better. I believe you'll be interested if you know about our project. Besides, we won't treat you badly if you become our professional manager. What project? Kong Xia replied with a curious expression. 10 minutes later. Through the presentation, Kong Xia knew the whole project's blueprints. Her eyes turned particularly bright, before a somewhat struggling expression appeared on her face. Upon seeing it, Zhang Fengxian immediately said, Chief Kong, now you already know about the whole plan. Considering your ability in business analysis, you should be able to see the huge profits it could bring about. So, what do you think? Are you willing to cooperate with us? Kong Xia's face changed continuously. After quite a long while, only then did she shake her head and said bitterly, To tell you the truth, the kind of project that can pique my interest are only a few. But I admit that I'm tempted by this project. However, I don't have the money. Even if I want to invest in this project, the most I can invest is only a few 100 million yuan, whereas this project of yours is a huge one. Long Hanwen quickly asked, Chief Kong, how much can you invest? Kong Xia thought for a moment as she stretched out 2 fingers and said, at the most, I can only cut 200 million from the non-essential investment fund in my magnificent Tang Corporation. If you can invest 200 million and you become our CEO, I promise to give you 10% of the shares. What do you think? Long Hanwen spoke with a resolute and decisive tone. 10%? Zhang Fengxian stared blankly as a look of slight astonishment was revealed on his face. He didn't expect that Long Hanwen would be this generous. With Ouyang Lei's 5 billion, the amount of investment from he and Long Hanwen should also be no less than that. This meant that the total investment from the 3 of them would be 15 billion yuan, and 10% was equal to 1.5 billion. I'm talking about profit shares. Long Hanwen added. In the next moment, Zhang Fengxian calmed down. If it was only the shares from profit, then he had no objection. Ouyang Lei looked fervently at Kong Xia and said, Old friend, take it. No one in the country is more competent and suitable than you to take this position. Kong Xia didn't answer right away. She quietly thought deeply for a few minutes before she looked up and asked, how much is the total investment for this project? I can come up with 8 billion, which is all the money I can use including loans from the banks. Said Long Hanwen with a deep tone. I can put out 5 billion. Ouyang Lei said. Kong Xia then turned to see Zhang Fengxian. Zhang Fengxian thought for a moment and slowly said, I also can put out 5 billion. And if the later stages of the project still need some funds, I also have no problem with that. Kong Xia slowly nodded. After thinking about it, then, she said seriously, I want 15% of the shares. If you agree, then I'll join. If not, then take it that today's matter never happened. 15%? Long Hanwen and Zhang Fengxian exchanged a look before immediately nodding quietly, whereas Ouyang Lei also nodded and didn't object upon seeing it. Late at night. At Southgate Town's villa complex. Tang Xiu was sitting near the window while reading the financial report in his hands. At this moment, the lights from the distance came over, so he raised his head and looked toward the outside. Screech! A Lamborghini stopped at the courtyard as Kong Xia came out of it. Up here. Tang Xiu motioned his hand at her. Kong Xia gave an okay gesture and then went upstairs toward Tang Xiu's room. After she arrived, she said with a smile, You're really carefree, boss. While we carry out the plan and rack our brains, you take everything leisurely. That's a given, I cannot rush to the front in order to not alert the enemy. By the way, how's today's results? Tang Xiu said with a smile. Kong Xia, well, we've invited the gentlemen to the boiling pot, and now we're waiting to sign the agreement. Ouyang Lei did a good performance. They have agreed to sign the deal 2 days later in the Long's dining hall. Long Hanwen has said it correctly. Regardless if the situation is chaotic or peaceful in this world, everyone will still pursue profits and benefits. Zhang Fengxian has a good sense in business opportunities, but it's a pity that he hasn't seen through everything, that this move is but only a trap for him. Otherwise, his Zhang family would surely will rise to a higher level once this project is completed. Tang Xiu said with a smile. That's why the Bible has stated that greed is one of the original sins. Kong Xia laughed and said. Tang Xiu shook his head and said, Humans have endless desires, as they always have. As long as they can see the benefits, pursuing it they dare and will. Right. Did you bring the information I need? Kong Xia handed over a document holder to Tang Xiu and said, Our men have been tracking them and clearly investigated all the movements from every member of the Zhangs. But someone is missing and we can't find him for now. Tang Xiu asked, Who is it? Zhang Yongjin. Kang Xia said. Find him. No matter what means, we must find his whereabouts. Exterminating the grasses without removing the roots will only leave a disaster for us later. Tang Xiu's brows wrinkled as he said with sinking tone. We're already on the move. However, I suspect that Zhang Yongjin is not in Star City. Kang Xia said. Tang Xiu thought for a moment before he slowly said, when you see Long Hanwen and Ouyang Lei tomorrow, tell them to move their men to help search. Contact Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjin also. No matter in which rat hole Zhang Yongjin hid himself, even if we have to dig 3 feet deep, we must dig him out. Understood. Kang Xia nodded. At Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. The hospital building was brightly lit and illuminated. At the door of the operating theater room in the 4th floor, the family members of several patients were anxiously waiting. When the operating room's door was opened from the inside, 2 doctors with surgical masks came out with their bodies sweating profusely. How's my wife, Doc? A middle-aged man immediately rushed to ask upon seeing them. We have tried, but we still have no means to take out the steel nail from her body. The location of the nail is too close to the artery and the heart. Any slight mistake and she'll die on the operating table. Although she's still alive from the wounds for now, but it will threaten her life at any time. The doctor forced out a smile and replied. Then, what's to be done? Don't tell me it's going to end like this? The middle-aged man impatiently said. We're really helpless. The dean spoke to us about this also, so we'll naturally do our best. Forcing out a smile, the doctor replied to him. Chapter 198, Divine Doctor. Li Hongji didn't leave the hospital last night because the daughter-in-law of his old comrade was injured and hospitalized. And now she was in the operating room. In order to console his old comrade, he stayed in the hospital to accompany him. At present, he and his old comrade came to the operating room's door. As he saw that the surgery had already ended, he quickly asked, How is it? Have you taken out the steel nail from inside of her body? The doctor shook his head and said, The nail is stuck in a very particular position. We've tried a variety of methods, but we still couldn't take it out. She has been given a blood transfusion, but her condition isn't stable yet. Li Hongji frowned deeply. Looking at the pale complexion of his old comrade, he also didn't feel better. Even if he wanted to console him, he didn't know what he should say. Dean, how about we transfer her to another hospital? If we send her to the capital now, the doctor said. He stopped talking midway and couldn't go on. Because he was well aware that such internal injury was not suitable to be moved. If the steel nail in her body was touched in the transferring process, her condition would perhaps worsen, and there was a possibility that she could die at any time. Li Hongji spoke with a sinking tone, We must not move her body easily. It's best to invite the best doctor from other local hospitals, Suddenly, Tang Xiu's face emerged in his head. His eyes turned bright immediately as he quickly took out his phone and called Tang Xiu's number. At South Gate Town. Tang Xiu and Kang Xia were still talking when his mobile phone suddenly rang, interrupting their chat. After he took out his phone, Tang Xiu suddenly frowned when he saw that it was a call from Li Hongji. Is there something up? Tang Xiu, our hospital has a patient with a serious wound. Even our most able doctors don't have the means to treat her. Can you come and save the patient? There was a slight begging from Li Hongji's tone. What about the patient's situation? Tang Xiu asked. There's a steel nail between the heart and the artery. Li Hongji said. Wait for me there. Tang Xiu sighed secretly and then hung up the call. Kang Xia asked with a confused expression, Boss, are you going out this late? Tang Xiu forced out a smile and said, Well, for an inexplicable reason, I've become a doctor in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. There's a seriously wounded patient in need of treatment there now, but the hospital's best doctors were helpless to treat her. So the president called me. Anyways, since you have a car, you take me there. Kang Xia knew that Tang Xiu was also skilled in medicine because she heard that he also had treated Gu Yin's strange disease. However, she didn't expect that the best doctors in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital were also unable to cure the patient, as even the president had to call Tang Xiu personally. Could it be that his medical skill was much more powerful than the best doctors in Star City Chinese Medical Hospital? All right, I'll drive you there. Kang Xia nodded and replied. Shortly after, they had arrived at Star City Chinese Medical Hospital. Boss, I'll go with you. I only knew that you're also skilled in medicine before, but I've never seen it, so I want to take a look. Kang Xiu said with a beaming smile. Are you not tired? Tang Xiu asked. Well, even if I'm tired, I don't feel it since I'm with you. Kang Xia said with a smile. What a bootlicker. Tang Xiu said with a smile as he walked toward the hospital's main building in large strides. Kang Xia locked the car's door and followed him from behind. At the door to the operating room in the 4th floor. Li Hongji constantly looked at the time, whereas his old comrade next to him asked with a worried expression, Old Li, the doctor you've invited, how good is he? He's a great master in Chinese medicine, his level is way above mine. I don't know about surgical problems though, but he should be able to remove the nail from inside the body. Li Hongji said. A Chinese medical doctor? The worried expression in the old man's face was getting thicker. When Tang Xiu's figure appeared in Li Hongji's line of vision, he came running to him quickly despite his old age as he greeted excitedly, Tang Xiu, the wounded patient is in the operating room. Our hospital's doctors have performed the surgery on her, but they have no means to take out the steel nail. Do you have any way out to take it? I haven't seen the patient and her injuries condition, so I don't know for now. Take me there. Tang Xiu said. Come with me. Li Hongji nodded and said. As Tang Xiu and Li Hongji went into the operating room, Kang Xia and the patient's family members were stopped at the door. In the operating room, Li Hongji told the other doctors who had stayed inside to take care of matter to remove the thin cover on the wounded patient. Tang Xiu inspected the patient as his brows wrinkled deeply. How did the nail pierce into her body? The doctor who knew about the cause said, she was passing by a construction site and was hit by an airgun about 7 to 8 hours ago. Help me sit her up. Tang Xiu nodded and said. This? The several doctors showed hesitating expressions as they looked at Li Hongji. Do according to what Dr. Tang says. Li Hongji said with deepened tone. The doctors helplessly nodded and carefully held the woman to sit up. Tang Xiu took a sharp scalpel from the surgery table. After the woman's clothes were lifted, he inspected the suture position left from the previous surgery. In the next moment, the scalpel in his hand moved across the stitched wound, and instantly broke open the suture line. Blood quickly poured as though a spring. With an exceptionally calm expression, Tang Xiu quickly opened the flesh. After seeing the end of the steel nail clearly, he grabbed the woman's shoulder and pulled her down from the operating table, while his other hand punched her back. At the same time, he flowed his star force into the woman's body through his fist. Star force was just like true essence. But it was much purer and a level higher. Just like true essence energy could be used to heal, so did star force. Tang Xiu seeped his star force inside the woman's body regardless of her wounds bleeding. The few doctors were dumbstruck and tongue-tied. He reached out to her back to control the strain of star force that seeped into the woman's body and quickly protected her heart. 10 seconds later, Tang Xiu put the woman back on the operating table and then injected his finger with star force, which slowly entered the wound inside. At the same time, his other hand inserted on the wounded place. Nobody could see Tang Xiu using his star force to support the blood vessels nearby the wound, whereas his finger caught the end of the nail and abruptly pulled it out. Ting. A few centimeters long steel nail was thrown into the mug. Looking at the dumbstruck doctors, Tang Xiu said with a deep tone, "My task is completed." Her blood vessels didn't move, neither did it touch her heart. "You do the rest, to stop her bleeding and stitch her suture."
Ah.
"Right, don't forget to disinfect it." Li Hongji was frightened upon seeing Tang Xiu's method, even his heart nearly stopped beating. At the moment, only after Tang Xiu spoke did he sober up as though awakened from a dream. Looking at the shocked expressions from the few doctors around, he shouted with a sinking tone, "Hey, what are you stunned for? Do as Dr. Tang says immediately."
Ah.
Okay. The other doctors finally came to their senses and immediately disinfected the woman's wound and stitched it. At the same time, they also reattached the oxygen tube to her as well as various instruments to her body. The metrical data from the medical devices showed that everything was normal. When the several doctors and Li Hongji saw the data, their tensed hearts were finally relieved. And at this moment, their shocked expressions finally calmed down. They looked at Tang Xiu, who was washing his hands, and turned speechless for a long time. The method just now was truly unthinkable. If it were them, they would never dare to do that even if they were given 100 points of courage. Li Hongji followed behind Tang Xiu to leave the operating room. As he looked at the family members with their worried expressions outside, with the pale complexion on his old comrade, he looked at Tang Xiu deeply as he turned around and said, "Worry not, everyone. Dr. Tang has already taken out the nail from the wound." The medical instruments also indicated that there won't be any serious matter happening to the patient, even though she has yet to recover her consciousness. "I will tell the doctors to prepare a 24 hours care for her." The old man's eyes stared wide as he asked with an inconceivable expression, "It's really been taken out?" "Old Li, don't dare lie to me. This young doctor has just entered and did some big things? But, it's only 5 minutes. How did he take the nail out of my daughter-in-law's body so quickly? Dr. Tang is actually a divine doctor. However, he acts as our last resort, so we usually don't call him since he's very busy. This time, the person that deserves the most gratitude from you for saving your daughter-in-law is him." Divine doctor? The old man's lips twitched a few times as he looked at his son, crying, "Why aren't you kneeling down to the young divine doctor, thanking him for saving your wife?" As the middle-aged man heard him, he immediately kowtowed toward Tang Xiu. However, Tang Xiu stopped him as he glanced at Li Hongji and spoke, "I'm a doctor. Saving the patient from dying as well as treating the wounded is my duty. So you don't need to thank me as this is what I should do." At the side, Kong Xiao was struck dumb as she looked at Tang Xiu with her tongue tied. She suddenly realized that she knew very little about Tang Xiu. The Star City Chinese Medical Hospital was more famous than the first public hospital of Star City. Even the best doctors in this hospital were unable to cure the injury of the patient, but Tang Xiu only came here for a few minutes, and was able to cure the patient. This was truly amazing. She looked at Tang Xiu and felt that there was a halo aura shrouded on top of his head. That was a divine aura. Tang Xiu took out his mobile. He looked at the time and said, "Anyways, if there's nothing else, I'll be going first." Li Hongji quickly stopped him as he asked with anticipation all over his face, "Tang Xiu, since you've already attended the college entrance test, is it possible for you to come to the hospital and give your medical service earlier? I'll prepare your consultation room in advance, so you can use it in your free time." Tang Xiu thought for a moment before he shook his head and said, "I have no time for now. At the fastest, I can only give medical services next month." Upon hearing Tang Xiu's guarantee, Li Hongji suddenly lightened up and smiled. He said cheerfully, "Well, since you say so, then I'm very assured. Let's walk, I'll send you out myself." "No need. You're an old man, you should go rest early." Tang Xiu shook his head and replied. After having said that, he left with Kong Xia. After they arrived at the outside of the hospital's main building, Kong Xia looked at Tang Xiu with extraordinary splendor in her eyes as she asked, "Boss, how did you do it?" "You know, it was only a few minutes after you entered the operating room." Chapter 199, The Rule of the Powerful. Tang Xiu was somewhat speechless upon facing Kong Xia's inquiry. How did he do it? As a matter of fact, pulling out a steel nail, for him, was but only a trivial act. He had received numerous grave injuries in the immortal world before, and for countless of times he had to take care of it himself. It was much more difficult than saving others. "Let's just leave." Tang Xiu's face was tranquil as he continued to walk outside. Kong Xia was tempted to follow her impulse to ask more. However, as she looked at Tang Xiu's calm expression, she eventually suppressed her intense curiosity inside. Tang Xiu was unpredictable and truly as deep as a well. Before she knew Tang Xiu, she never imagined that she would encounter someone like him in her life. He was younger than her, but he amazed her. She even felt that he was someone that she needed to look up to. After going back to the car, Kong Xia started the car and spoke, "Boss, I'll drive you to Southgate Town first, then I'll go home afterwards." Tang Xiu nodded and said, "After you go back, keep your vigilance sharp, and if there's no important things, we should not meet with each other for the time being. I can tell that the Zhangs will send some people to keep an eye on you to observe your every action and movement. If because of our meeting it causes Zhang Deqin's suspicion, then everything will come to naught." "I know." Kong Xia nodded and replied. Time slipped away and passed quickly. The scheme for the Zhang family, as expected, was carried out smoothly and progressed very quickly. A large sum of funds had been injected to the collective account, whereas Kong Xia also had taken the office and acted as the interim CEO for the project. Furthermore, all four parties also signed a strict and harsh agreement. Zhang Fengxian himself was a cautious and cunning person in nature. But still, he also decided to take the chance upon facing such a huge profit to be made. However, for insurance's sake, he also made a contingent plan unbeknownst to the others and privately signed a cooperation plan with the high-level people of the Star City's Hu and Shui family. The agreement was that he was willing to transfer some part of the profits to the two parties in exchange for a private capital of 2 billion liquid funds. A week later, at the Southgate Town Villa complex, Tang Xiu was wearing a loose bathrobe as he quietly looked at the information in his hands. The information was sent by his 20 men who were investigating the whereabouts of high-level members of the Zhangs. It was very detailed and comprehensive and only need the order from Tang Xiu to make the high-level members of the Zhangs to disappear within 10 minutes. At the opposite side of him, Ouyang Lulu was sitting on the sofa with a lazy expression. She wore a short denim jeans, with a small vest and cool crystal shoes whilst holding her chin as she looked at Tang Xiu without blinking. Staring all the time at a person might be boring, but looking at someone that made one interested actually didn't tire at all. Instead, it would only make strength in it. The longer Ouyang Lulu knew Tang Xiu, the more she felt his fierceness. Previously, she only thought that the people Tang Xiu knew was but only the Long family, Chan Zhizhong, and the most mysterious one was the little boss of the everlasting feast hall, Gu Xiaoxue. However, when she passed the news to her parents about Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingzhen, the results shocked her, because the identity of the two was unusual. Mysterious and inconceivable mysterious aura. It was the feeling Ouyang Lulu had toward Tang Xiu. She even felt that Tang Xiu was more mysterious than the countless unsolved mysteries all over the world. "Hey, is there a flower on my face?" Tang Xiu finally put the information in his hand as his eyes landed on Ouyang Lulu's face. Ouyang Lulu said with a light laugh. "Well, your face hasn't been plowed, but there seems to be a flower on your head, so I want to pull its petals apart to see what's inside." "You're bored, aren't you?" Tang Xiu chided and shook his head. "Observing you isn't much of a boring thing to do though." But I'm very curious, however. Aren't you worried about this scheme against the Zhangs? Ouyang Lulu replied with a tender smile. What should I worry about? Tang Shou asked. About some accidents that could happen midway, no? The Zhangs have deep roots in Star City, and perhaps they have some trump cards in their hands. If they suddenly reveal their cards when the time comes and disrupt our plan, what should we do then? Ouyang Lulu said. With a grim expression, Tang Shou said, all the accidents and changes will be easily solved in the face of absolute force. It's not in my intention to exterminate all the family members of the Zhangs as the final solution, however. But if there's unpredictable changes, I also won't overrule this method. Tang Xiu, the society as of now is ruled by the government laws. Are you not afraid that too many murders will cause unnecessary troubles? Ouyang Lulu asked. The laws, as it has always been, are formulated and enacted for the weak. The people with power can just ignore it. Even though I don't want to challenge the bottom line, but so too others, for they must never cross my bottom line also. If she wants to kill me, then I will kill her first. Even if I have to cut off all the roots to stamp out the troubles, I won't leave anything behind so as to avoid any causes for later disasters. Tang Xiu spoke with indifferent expression. Ouyang Lulu clapped her hands and said, true, this is the truth. Previously, my Ouyang family had an enemy family in Jingmen Island. They even hired a group of international mercenaries to sneak into Jingmen Island to strike our Ouyang family. As a result, all the international mercenaries left Jingmen Island, whereas that family was also removed. But that time, my Ouyang family suffered quite a great loss and it took us several years to handle it. Tang Xiu said with a pale smile, it seems like your Ouyang family also has a deep family heritage. At least, your family's enemy was unable to figure out your family's trump card and rashly acted against you. With a surprised expression, Ouyang Lulu said, how did you know that my Ouyang family has a trump card? There's only a few foolish people in the world. Those who can govern big and respected families are never fools. I can tell that before they acted against your family, the Ouyangs perhaps had already investigated their strength on the surface. This is what the so-called knowing thy enemies and know yourself, and only then will you be ever victorious in every battle. Tang Xiu said. Ouyang Lulu said with a smile, what you said is spot on. Our Ouyang family does have a trump card, that was my grandfather from my mother's line. It can be said that our family has relatives from a mysterious clan. Tang Xiu, I have absolute trust in you, so I can tell you about this. Even though my maternal grandfather's clan is very low-key and lives in a remote mountainous area, however, they are valiant people and they live by martial arts codes. There are a lot of people who are martial art experts from there, even us Ouyangs also hired a group of experts from there. I know that. Some of the people your big brother takes along are quite good. Tang Xiu said. Knock, knock. The door was knocked as Guyin entered the room with a smiling face and said, Master, there's a guest visiting you. A guest? Who is it? Tang Xiu asked with a smile. He came here once before. The one who sent you medicinal herbs. I think he's surnamed Chu. Chu Yi? Tang Xiu's expression moved as he got up and said, let's go see him. At the living room in the first floor. Chu Yi sat on the sofa, fiddling with his mobile, whereas a big black leather suitcase stood next to him. A bright smile hung on his handsome face, obviously revealing his joyful mood. Chu Yi. Tang Xiu came to the living room and then sat on the sofa at the opposite side. Ouyang Lulu herself acted as though a behaved young wife as she directly sat next to him. Chu Yi put away his mobile and for a moment, was quietly surprised upon seeing Ouyang Lulu who followed behind Tang Xiu. But his complexion immediately turned into an inconceivable expression when he saw Ouyang Lulu's sitting position. He raised his arm and pointed at the two and said with a hesitating expression, are the both of you? What? Tang Xiu said with a confused expression. Ouyang Lulu rolled her white eyes as she harumphed and said, "What's with the both of us? If you have anything to say, then spit it out clearly and don't hide it. Besides, Tang Xiu and I haven't done any shameful things." Chui forced out a smile and said, "Well, old fellow classmate, your words are filled with guns and sticks though, so I have no courage to spit it out. But I'm really curious, however. How are you here too?" "Well, you can come here, so why can't I?" Ouyang Lulu said. "Lulu has something to take care of in Star City, so she's staying in my place for now. Anyway, are you bringing me medicinal herbs again?" Chui looked at the two with a strange expression. Only after a while did he reply with a smile, "Well, I have got two things to attend to in Star City this time. Firstly, bring you these medicinal herbs. And secondly, Long Zhengyu said that there's someone who wants to be involved in our project, so I came here to ask him about the specific details." "Well, you need not ask Zhengyu about this matter. We have a much bigger plan, you'll naturally know about it when this plan ended," Tang Xiu said. Chui frowned as he asked with a confused expression, "Brother Tang, I don't get what you are saying. Since I can't ask Zhengyu, how about you tell me what's this about? The plot of land we're going to use, as well as the architectural design I have drawn personally, are now being used for another plan. In my estimation, it would only take 10 to 15 days before we got the results. I know that you and Bai Tao have the shares in this project, but since Zhang Yu obtained the entire plot of land, we're using this block to build the office. It also won't be a problem if you want to participate in this project later, but the premise is that we have to remove some people first," Tang Xiu said. "You have enemies? Why didn't you call me?" Chui said with a shocked expression. Tang Xiu said with a smile, "Well, we originally wanted to involve both you and Bai Tao. But since I considered that the both of you also have your own adversaries in the capital, I didn't call you. The plan itself is very tight and strict, and you're the first one who knows about this even though you're not involved in this plan. So I hope you can keep this a secret." Chui narrowed his eyes and slowly asked, "Is there nothing I can do to help? For example, money?"
Nah.
"We won't need it temporarily, but I'll be sure to call you if we need it later," Tang Xiu said with a smile. "I'll discuss about this matter with Bai Tao. Of course, it will be only between the both of us and we won't tell anything to our family. If you need money later, do call us. Even though most of our money have been invested in the building that we're going to develop, but we can still amass some money through private means." Chui nodded and said. Tang Xiu was distracted for a moment as he suddenly asked, if your Chu and Bai families don't raise the suspicion from the enemy, how much funds can you come up with?" Chui pondered for a moment before he said, "4 billion, this is the limit. I think it's also the same with Bai family." Chapter 200, Playing with a Big Gambit. Pa. Tang Xiu slapped his palms and said with a smile, "All right. That will beat them on their own game. So we might as well make the game bigger. Anyways, return to Beijing and look for your elders. If they want to play in a much bigger game, send someone with authority to speak to Star City and come to Southgate Town." With a dull and blank face, Chui looked at Tang Xiu, who was full of spirit. Then he probed, "Brother Tang, can you tell me about the plan first? This is not by any means a small matter to begin with. And I'm afraid it will be very difficult for Bai Tao and I to convince our family elders to come here without good reason." Tang Xiu thought for a while. Finally, he spoke about the grudges between him and the Zhangs as well as the preparation to exterminate the Zhang family by joining the four forces. After he told everything, he finally said with a sinking tone, "If the two of you can come up with 8 billion in secret, it would be very easy to strike the Zhangs later. Once we get rid of the Zhang family, we can fully start to develop and build according to my architectural building designs. And I believe you also know the profits it will bring about once the project is successful. Do you really want to play it big? Chu-yi was shocked as he asked with widened eyes. Since I must play it big I will. In addition, Star City's Hu and Shui families will also take huge damage if they participate in this matter. And I was thinking that all the architectural design I've drawn will be fully completed within 3 years. 3 years? Chu-yi's heartbeat sped up. He himself knew that constructing the buildings in the architectural design drawn by Tang Xiu was uncertain to be completed within 8 to 10 years according to the previous agreement. A glint flashed in Chu-yi's eyes, as his expression turned very serious in particular. He immediately got up and said, I'll go back to the capital now, and I'll call you about the reply in the next evening at the most. I'll also call Bai Tao about this. You needn't worry about this, I give you my guarantee that I will not disclose this matter to anyone. Tang Xiu's eyes swept over the black suitcase. As he sent out Chu-yi, then, he asked, how much money have you spent for these medicinal herbs? 80 million. Well, leave the money be for now. We'll talk about this later. Chu-yi said. All right. Tang Xiu nodded. A splendor flashed in Ouyang Lulu's eyes. She followed Tang Xiu after he sent Chu-yi away and asked, Are you really sure to carry on this big project after exterminating the Zhangs? You tell me, how much of the total profits can we get if this big project is completed? Tang Xiu asked. Well, according to the building constructions drawn in your design, the profits it will bring about would be around tens of billions, if not 100 billion. Solely from the business district and residential area, the profits will be huge. I dare say that, once the construction plans have been advertised, perhaps when we begin to sell the houses, the price will rise greatly. And to my estimation, it won't be less than the most prosperous area in Star City. Suddenly, Ouyang Lulu's eyes turned bright as she immediately continued with full enthusiasm, Tang Xiu, I know very well about the plot of land that has been bought out by Zhengyu. If we really want to go all out, why don't we buy out all the lands in the surroundings? Even if we do nothing to the land, its price will surely be rising in the future and it will give us quite a fortune. Tang Xiu spread out his hands as he said in a bachelorish manner, I got no money. Ouyang Lulu's eyes twinkled as she replied, It doesn't matter if you got no money right now since my Ouyang family can lend you some first. When you've solved the Zhang family, perhaps our 4 forces can get a lot of income and you can pay us back by then. Even if I get some benefits from the collapse of the Zhangs, that money will also be invested for this big project's development. I'm afraid that I can't pull it out either. Tang Xiu said. Ouyang Lulu stared blankly for a moment before falling into silence immediately. Tang Xiu himself thought for a moment. The idea proposed by Ouyang Lulu itself was quite good. In particular, the idea of borrowing the chicken to lay the eggs was much suited to his style. However, if he were to do that, it would also mean that he would be more indebted to the Ouyang family. After he thought about it a bit more, only then he slowly said, Then, how about we do this? Your Ouyang family contact the local government first. After you selected the plot of lands, then you calculate as to how much money it will take as well as the amount you can come up with. At that time, I'll also provide 40% of funds whereas your Ouyang family will provide 60%. So the future income will be divided into 4 to 6. Didn't you say that you have no money? Ouyang Lulu said with a confused expression. I'll find a way. However, I'll only provide the money and won't involve myself in other things. Tang Xiu said. Upon hearing his words, a satisfied smile emerged on Ouyang Lulu's face. She herself had indescribable trust toward Tang Xiu, so she nodded and said, So be it then. I'll go back to Jingmen Island now to discuss this with my father. And considering his judgment ability, I believe that he'll agree to this one. After having said that, she immediately returned to her room and packed up her things. Then, she hurriedly drove and left Southgate Town. Her swift and decisive nature, as well as her intelligence, was much to Tang Xiu's liking, since he felt that it was very easy to cooperate with someone with such nature. As for the money, he also had made a decision in his mind. Star City. Zhang Group's headquarter building. Zhang Deqin was frowning deeply in her vice general manager's office. A bit of agitated mood could be seen in her eyes. Her mobile was unceasingly making sounds of dialing a number, but for each and every time, the only reply she got was, "The number you have called is currently unavailable." Knock, knock. The office's door was knocked. In front of the wide-open door, Huan Jun and Shui Renfei were standing outside with a smile hung on their faces. Upon seeing the two, Zhang Deqin immediately strode forward and asked with a deep tone, "You two just came at the right time. I was just about to call you. Anyways, where's Yongjin? He isn't with you?" Huan Jun was surprised and said, "Big sis Deqin, we're also looking for Yongjin. It's been more than a week and we haven't seen him at all, neither have we received any calls from him. We've tried to call him for many times, but our calls can't get through." Speaking about it, you also can't find him? Zhang Deqin's complexion turned gloomy as the water. The restlessness inside her heart grew even more. She took her brother, Zhang Yongjin, to northern Jiangsu to let him stay with her bosom sister. The first day he got there, he was okay, well-behaved and obediently followed her bosom friends, having good meal and manners. However, ever since 2 days ago, not only did she lost contact with him, she couldn't even call her bosom girlfriend. She had even sent someone to northern Jiangsu, but there was still no result, neither any messages sent to her. There was literally no one at all in her sister's house. Shui Renfei said, "Big sis Deqin, the last time Yongjin contacted me, he said that he'll stay in northern Jiangsu for some time, vowing that he'll be back a week later at the most. Is he still in northern Jiangsu now?" Zhang Deqin shook her head and replied, "He did go to northern Jiangsu, but I lost contact with him now. I sent him to stay with my good sister there, but now, I can't even contact her. I suspect that someone is investigating his whereabouts as well as kidnapped him and my good sister." Huan Jun and Shui Renfei looked at each other in dismay. Which bastard did this? Huan Jun quickly asked. "I suspect that it's Tang Xiu's people's deeds. Because he's the only one that has hatred with us." Zhang Deqin coldly said. "Tang Xiu? He dares to do this? He only has a trivial martial arts and relies on the Long family." Zhang Deqin didn't utter any words. She had sent people to do surveillance in the vicinity of Southgate town. They found that for more than a week, Tang Xiu hadn't left Southgate town. She had determined that the 3 people that were killed outside Southgate town were indeed assassins coming from abroad. She even suspected that the one who killed those 3 assassins was Tang Xiu himself. She had tried to contact the middleman, but she couldn't get it through. She suspected that the other party had an accident. However, as for specifically what it could be, it was definitely not a good thing for her. Star City, at Public Security Bureau. The office of the Criminal Police Squad was very busy as police officers constantly came in and out of the office with documents. Inside one of spacious offices, Deng Jianmen was puffing his cigarette in a jittery manner with an extremely gloomy expression. At the opposite of him, Cheng Xueme was holding a teacup, looking to be in deep thought. "The top brasses have strictly urged us to catch the murderer within 3 days before. How many days have passed now? But still, not even a clue can we find. What and how should we report about the progress? Captain Cheng, it's imperative for us to change our way of thinking. We can no longer pay attention to the people we're suspecting and being monitored. More importantly, we'll focus our attention toward the one who hired those foreign hitmen." Deng Jianmen pinched the cigarette but as he spoke with a sinking tone. Cheng Xueme forced out a smile and said, "We already know about these foreign hitmen from the Interpol. They belong to a small killer organization, and there's only a few dozen people in the entire organization. And this time, 3 of them suddenly died. That also closed the chance for us to find the person who pulled the strings behind the scene. The manipulator himself suddenly disappeared into hiding. Even if we want to investigate starting from them, we won't be able to get any useful information. Dang Jianmin shook his head and said, no, I think we'll some clues from it. Director Deng, what clues? Cheng Xuemei's spirit sparked as she quickly asked. How did they sneak into the country and come to Star City smoothly? Dang Jianmin said. You mean, the Blackhand who hired these hitmen should be someone from Star City? This person helped these 3 hitmen enter the country and then helped them come to Star City? Cheng Xuemei's eyes brightened up as she immediately got up and replied. Correct. These hitmen are hired guns and they will get their payment for killing. Since there's a target, there should be an employer who hired them. We can't find the person who killed these hitmen and neither can we find any valuable clues from him. So, we might as well change our way of thinking and focus our attention on the employer. Thus, immediately send someone to the airport, bus terminals and any of the transit channels from the outside to Star City. As long as we can figure out as to how these hitmen entered Star City, we can find the about their employer. Dang Jianmin said. Cheng Xuemei put down her teacup as she replied with a deep tone, I'll lead the men personally. Wait. You must contact the Interpol. Clarify to them from which city these hitmen embarked from. Only by taking this approach will our investigation be quicker. Dang Jianmin said.